All right, so I'm out by this shed and I'm working on putting an outdoor RV outlet for the camper. So when it's just sitting out, we can plug it in and not use one of those adapters. So this is what I'm doing here. So on the outside of my steel Morton building, I drilled a hole through, which made me very sad that I drilled through this tin or steel. So this is what I'm using for a box. I just got it kind of mocked up here. I think it's approximately 16 inches up from the rodent guard there or whatever. And then what I did was I used a piece of conduit that is threaded. I think it's like rigid conduit is what they call it. And then there's another one of those plugs on the bottom. Those will have to get siliconed. I'm still wondering on whether or not I should silicone the back here. So it has like these little standoffs on the top and the bottom. So my thought was either leave it as is and just make sure it's silicone around where the hole is, or I silicone here and then down each side and leave the bottom open so that if anything does get back there, it would drain out the bottom. So that's what that looks like. And then if you come on the inside here, I had to actually open up the wall because everything was finished. So I had to add this 2x6 in here, so I had something to screw the outlet to. And like I said, this is just mocked up. The only thing holding it on is this elbow, which I don't know if this is going to work, but that's my kind of my plan right now. So this foam here is 1.5 inches, and then you got 1.5 inches here, so I'm going to have to use like 3-inch screws to get through. But the there, you can kind of see it. So that pipe is actually threaded, and then I picked one of these up, which is also threaded. So I'm hoping I can do that, and then on the top here we'll put a clamp, and that'll be the quote-unquote clamp that I need to hopefully hold everything in place. And then the wire I'll just run up through the wall here up to the attic, and then I'll have to pull it over to the panel. So that's what the hole looks like. I drilled a little tiny pilot hole just to make sure it was in the right spot, and then I just used one of those step bits, which works perfect for drilling the steel, especially when they're sharp. And I got it right where I wanted. Really didn't work on the wood side so much, so I actually used a hole saw, and then I opened it up so that I could get the outer section of this to fit in closer to that 2x6. This is what I'm talking about for the rigid piece here, and these are those little legs. These holes here I drilled out. They were kind of like formed to drill out so you can run 2 screws in. So that's my my plan with that. So this here is the outlet cover that I'm going to use, and there is our outlet for the camper. So the only thing left to get is really the wire. I think I got everything else that I need. This is the clamp. Whoops, clamp that I'm talking about. That should just thread into the top of that, and I think that should work then. So that shouldn't be an issue. I got kind of a mess going on here. I got all sorts of stuff going on everywhere on this bench right now, but I want to get this done. I picked up some caulk as well. It's just going to be clear caulk. It's supposed to be good for outdoor stuff. It's Weather Max. I don't know, when did caulk become like $8 a tube? Like, I recall it being like $3 or maybe like $3.60 a tube. There was nothing even close or like in the same vicinity, and I looked for one of those like squeeze tubes, and those were like $7, and I'm like, that is insane. Oh, and the other thing I had to pick up was a single pole 30 amp breaker, which I didn't have. So that's going to be for that camper outlet or whatever. So, alright, I'm going to get most of this put together and hopefully get it mounted here. Alright, so no action shots of me actually doing it. But, so, drilled 2 holes, like I said, 2 pilot holes through the steel, and then ran these screws through. They're 3-inch like deck screws. So really nice thing about Ace Hardware, where I picked up all the like the hardware and stuff, the screws and then the screws for the face here, you can buy everything individually, whereas if you go to like Menards, you have to buy a whole box, and I'm like, I only need 2 screws. I don't want to spend $8 on a box. So I think these I bought, they were 90 cents a pound. Well, obviously I didn't have a pound. I think I bought 5 total, and I'm like, this should be fine for what I need. So, and then the caulk, I was a little disappointed because it said it was clear, But I guess this goes on white, and then after it cures, it goes clear. So we'll see, I guess. I caulked this top, the bottom. I put some caulk around the screws, caulk around the pipe, caulk on the pipe. So I don't think there should be any issue with water that way. I think that should be fine. And then on this side here, I basically just screwed this on until it was tight. So one of the other issues is we don't have much clearance here, because I actually have a 2x4 that comes across the top here, and that's what I use to nail the Blandex or OSB back on. So hopefully got enough room. Hopefully this 10 wire likes this and makes the bend not too bad. And then so this insulation I just got to pull down. I left this panel on. I'm hoping I can get through that and up into the ceiling, and then come across. And then the other thing that's going to be slightly difficult is then getting into the electrical box, because everything's finished here unless I pull the box off. I was hoping I could maybe just open one of these up and run like a snake up there to catch it. So I'm not sure. And this box is full. I don't know if I'll buy I think I got one of those double 20 deals where it splits 2 circuits on one spot. So might throw one of those in there. I don't know. I got everything on 20 amps, so all the outlets like throughout the building, all the lights, and then, you know, I got the air compressor on a 20, and then that is the arc welding breaker. That's a 50 amp. So I don't know, we'll see. Hopefully I can get that in there. The other thing, 10 wire is extremely expensive, kind of like the caulk. Holy smokes, 50 feet I think is like 150 bucks. I know 10 wire was always expensive, but it was never that expensive. And there again, like, I really don't need 50 feet. I'm probably closer to 30 feet what I need. I got the door that's 9, that door's 36. Yeah, so I'm probably like at 30 some feet, and 25 just isn't gonna do it. So I have to buy 50, and I'm gonna have some left over. So probably like, I don't know, $30–40 worth of wire left over. But well, anyway, I'm gonna keep working on it here. All right, so here it is with the cover on. So the other screws that I picked up from Ace were these. I believe these were 632. So I think the thread pitch is 32. But if you look at it, it's got like a taper to it, but then it's also not flat like a wood screw would be. It's actually got a little bit of a curve on the top. And I went all over the store trying to find them, because I knew they had them, but they weren't in a normal like machine screw type deal. They actually had a special spot for the 632s, but then not these, well, not this one, the ones I put in, which were stainless. So I actually got some stainless ones there. I think they were 17 cents a piece. So there's 2 there, and then 2 on the top. So there was some debate on what type of box I should go with. I know they make those larger like square units, and then it's got like a big flap cover on it, and I didn't really like that. I like this because it looks more like an outlet. It does stick out from the shed quite a bit, but I'm okay with that. It should be fine. That bigger unit I didn't like, because then it was going to be coming across these ribs, and how are you going to get anything flat on there? This way it fits in between. And I was talking with a friend of mine, and he was like, oh god, he's like, you can't put that thing on, that looks awful. So my other thought was, well, maybe I'll like plant a post over in the grass or in the lawn green space and do that. Well, then that's twice as much wire, and then I'm gonna have to bury it, and like, this is already more of a project than what I wanted it to be. So that's what it looks like. Obviously nothing hooked up. All right, so it's been many days later, and I think we're set here. So this caulk is a little disappointing, because it said it goes on white and then it turns clear. Maybe I just haven't waited long enough, but it's definitely been a couple days here. It's still pretty white. I would have used brown caulk had I known it was going to stay white like that. Here is what the outlet looks like. So we got that all wired up, and we actually changed a little bit on the inside here. It didn't work out as well as I wanted it to, so I had to pull that elbow off, and then I used a plastic bushing on the end of that rigid conduit, and I just put a staple here. So hopefully that's okay. We spent a lot of time on this. I want to say it was a full week after work. The longest part of the project was, one, getting this wall opened up because everything was nailed on, so I had a bunch of nails to pull off, and then two, getting this wire run was really a pain. Down this section of the wall wasn't so bad. That actually came down pretty well, but getting it so across the attic, you got all these different rafters, and then here is the biggest trick. So there's a 2x6 that sits right above this door, horizontal or flat, all the way across, and I knew that was going to be an issue because, one, I couldn't really get up in there to drill. So we ran the snake up through one of the holes that I had drilled for one of the other circuits for the wires or whatever to bring it down, and that was a little bit of a trick. So what I ended up doing in the main box is punching out 1.5 inch knockout just so I had some room in there to get my hand up in there, and then we just used one of the knockouts, the normal 1/2 inch knockouts or whatever. And that bushing I used on the rigid conduit was just this, so I just put that on the end. I figured that should be good enough. And then the actual wiring here, what I did, so I put the 30 at the top, and then I had to get one of these doubles for the 220s that I had up here. So I think this one is like the lights in the other garage, and this one is outlets. I think this is lights and outlets on the ceiling in the other side of the garage, and then this one's outlets. So that should be good, and now hopefully we should be done running any type of wire, because like I said, that's just an absolute, and this is all packed with insulation here. You know, the ceiling, I got 6 plus another 12, so I got 12 inches of insulation I have to pull off just so I can get in there. And then, like, you're working right, you know, right up in there, so there's not a lot of room to get up in there. And I got my hand down as far as I could to try to help the wire down, even with the snakes, because it was a really tight fit. But then I put everything back up there, and it was really hot a couple of those days that I was up there. So, but it's in, and we'll throw it on. I'm gonna leave it off unless we're using it, but right now I'll turn it on, and then we'll go plug in the RV circuit protector and just take a look at it. All right, so I got it plugged in. For some reason on camera, I don't know, the camera doesn't pick it up. It's showing only one light, but actually both of these are on, and this bottom one. If I move in, then like the camera sometimes catches this one. Oh, I had it there for a second. See, and then now this one's on, that one looks like it goes off, but you'll just have to take my word for them. So they're both on, which means the power is on. It's got some other faults here if it's not right, and then I think the bottom just means that the surge part of it is working. So there you go. That's the outlet, and I'm not even sure I would need this for the camper if I'm, you know, plugged into my own home power. I'm pretty confident there's no issue with it. But so that's the install, and that's going to be your 30 amp RV outlet.